I've always been a quiet person, perhaps because my parents taught me as a child to be kind to others. I was never angry at others and occasionally sacrificed myself, but I didn't mind because I knew. If I was helping others, my friends would sometimes say to me, "You should be more emotional." However, I like seeing people happy, so I lived my life with the intention of giving my all to others. After graduating from college, I got a job at a large advertising agency. I was shy, but I assumed that if I took a sales job, I'd be more sociable. Therefore, I volunteered and was assigned to the sales department, as it was common for newly employed individuals to work at a branch office that was a little remote from the head office for 2 to 3 years. I was assigned to work there. Superior Mr. Brown, the branch manager, and my boss when I first started with the company, was really kind. Instead of getting angry when his employees made mistakes, he focused on how to avoid making the same mistakes in the future. When I made a mistake, he would discuss it with me and support me, making my job incredibly fulfilling. He was trusted not only by his co-workers, but also by the president and business partners, and people swarmed around him all the time. When Mr. Brown was my boss, I think the company's sales were quite good. Mr. Brown was transferred to the company's headquarters 2 years after I started, and Henry became my new supervisor. Henry had worked in the headquarters, and I had never heard anything positive about him. He had a cheeky personality and was only kind to young women. But on the other hand, he was famous for his arrogant attitude toward married employees, female employees with children, and young male employees. I heard that a number of them had quit their jobs. However, when it came to the president or anyone who was convenient for him, he was always flattering. Our branch office heard that despite his shortcomings, he was brilliant at flattering people. Just when it was time for the notorious Henry to be transferred to the branch office, some of the female employees even said they wanted to quit if he was coming. I was concerned about having such a person as a supervisor in our branch office, but the day came. I arrived at the office 15 minutes before work as usual. Since I joined the company, I have made it a habit to clean the office in the morning. When I opened the door to start work that day, I found out that somebody was already there.
Good night.
I was surprised and said, "Good morning." The person then responded loudly,
Good morning, who are you? Speaker, settle.
Oh, I'm Lucas. Well, our side.
Well, I was mumbling.
I'm Henry from the head office. Nice to meet you. Are you always the first to arrive?
Yes, since I started at the company, I've made it a habit to arrive earlier than everyone else to clean up.
I see.
Henry just said that and started to walk around the room. While I was cleaning without paying attention, other employees came to work one after another. They all greeted Henry, and it was time for the first meeting of the morning. As the meeting started, Henry spoke.
So again, my name is Henry, and I'm from the head office. I want you all to pull yourselves together so that people don't say sales have dropped since I arrived. I will be very strict. These employees who have low sales,
I was very nervous when I heard that. I was so dissatisfied with myself at the time that I was being outperformed by new hires even in my second year with the company. I was beginning to question if I wasn't cut out for sales. I was thinking so at the time, so I was disappointed by Henry's statements. I was beginning to question if I wasn't cut out for sales. I was thinking so at the time, so I was disappointed by Henry's statements.
Anyway, I'm gonna call that name, so if yours was called, please take a step forward.
And sure enough, he called my name. He then began lecturing each and every employee that stood in front of him for the next 30 minutes. Then, it was my turn. Henry pointed to the sales performance board and snickered, "Before cleaning, why don't you consider how you can improve your performance?"
Yes, you can improve your performance.
He made fun of me. After what happened that day, I questioned if I could deal with him. To this, I walked to the schedule board to change my mind and attempted to jot down my plans for the day's activities.
Oh, so despite your poor performance, you're still gonna do the rounds, huh? That's great.
He said in a voice that could be heard by everyone. I replied in a small voice and left the room. With a sigh, I passed by the kitchenette and saw 2 female employees making coffee.
I heard Henry is always looking for someone to bully. I wonder if he's specifically targeting any of the people he mentioned by name.
I know, I'm sure he found someone among them to bully. Like Lucas, he's so shy.
Hearing that voice, I couldn't move from that spot. What should I do? It really could be me. Among my co-workers in their second year with the company, I was the only one.
What, Lucas, were you there? I'm sorry, did you hear our conversation?
Oh, it's okay. It's true that I'm not leaving much results.
Listen, we've been watching you working hard. Clients have also told us that you're a good salesman who is considerate and helpful. So good luck. We're on your side.
And she handed me a candy bar. I watched her leave. Even if I was Henry's new objective, there would be no problem as long as my performance increased. My performance was poor at the time, but everyone struggles from time to time. I resolved not to be discouraged by this and to continue making good ideas for our consumers. That's how I cheered myself up and went about my rounds. I worked hard to improve my performance. My performance improved little by little, but it was still nothing compared to my colleagues.
Your airs are affecting my work as well. And they criticize and abuse me.
Furthermore, when a female employee requested to leave early due to her child's fever, she was told,
This is why people with children are useless? Well, we don't need you anyway. Just go home and take care of your kid. I'd be sorry to send you home because you're attractive and you're attractive, and we'll miss you, but you're a valuable employee.
After that, the female employee arrived at work with low spirit, possibly because she was concerned about the other employees' gazes on her. Felt like the company's atmosphere deteriorated day by day, and numerous employees eventually resigned. Even so, Henry insisted that it was not his fault.
Oh, they just didn't have the guts.
Appearance, and he continued to speak negatively about the employees that quit in front of everyone and didn't change his attitude. Then one day, Mr. Johnson, the president of our company, came to the branch.
This is Michael, who will be joining us today, and since he is an important person, I'll ask you to be his trainer.
Mr. Johnson brought an old man in his 50s with him. Michael was a small, overweight man with thinning hair who was looking down. To be honest, he seemed to be somewhat ill-fated.
Hey, Lucas, come here.
He's a take of Ageism. I rushed to Henry's place. You'll train this guy? I was surprised to hear that.
Excuse me, but Mr. Johnson said you were in charge of his training.
Oh, now you're telling me what to. You're telling me what to do. I got my hands full with other jobs, but besides, there's no way I can use this old man.
But with that, he kicked the chair over. Henry's ranting and behavior scared some female employees, and I was fidgeting. Michael fixed the chair and in a gentle voice said,
I'm Michael. It's a pleasure for me to work with you all. I know there are many things I am not good at, so I would like to ask for your kind assistance.
Michael gave each of us a cream puff from a well-known store, which put us at ease. Michael took a seat next to me and
Because I'm sorry for making you a trainer for such an old man as myself.
he bowed his head again. So I said, Michael, please raise your head. I'm sorry that the atmosphere in the company has been like this from the beginning. Henry has been in a bad mood every day because of my poor sales performance. It's my fault too, I apologize. I explained it to him.
I see, however, from the look of your desk, I can tell you're doing well in sales. Let's work together. By seeing a stack of paperwork for my clients as well as documents from problems I wanted to improve and documents from companies I plan to visit for sales, he told me so. Furthermore, it demonstrates that you're seriously thinking about your business partners. I don't know if I should be the one to say this, but Lucas, you are a good salesman. I felt as though a light had been turned on in my heart that had nearly gone out.
I walked him around the office and explained what we were doing that day, and we had lunch together at a neighboring restaurant. I don't mean to be rude, but why did you change your job? I asked Michael.
So any King Basman, well, the company I had worked for went bankrupt. Then this company had a job opening, and I applied. I wondered for a moment if they had any mid-career job openings. I was curious, but I said, I see. Thank you for telling me. I'll do my best. To help you get used to the job as soon as possible. I knew you were a nice person, Lucas. I am grateful to have you as my trainer. I was very happy. I hear that.
I taught Michael, who claimed to be new to sales, everything I knew, including how to make a sales pitch and answer the phone. But I also had to conduct my own sales work, and to be honest, I didn't have much time on my hands. Even so, I didn't want to make Michael feel bad. I tried to follow up with him as much as possible. Even though I didn't want to make Michael feel bad, I tried to follow up with him as much as possible. A week later, Michael and I were summoned by Henry.
I have a great idea.
I had a bad premonition when he smiled.
Lucas, Michael, if you do not create $1 million in sales by this date next year, you guys will be fired. What do you think? Isn't this a good idea?
When he yelled at me, I rushed to his desk. What? But that's impossible. I said.
I could barely say that. And then Henry said, well, you guys are not achieving anything. Lucas, you must be feeling your limits by now, right?
Besides, Michael, you must be incompetent to be looking for a new job at your age. You two should be thankful that I'm giving you at least a year. Henry yelled. I could barely stand there and kick. Not say anything.
Okay, $1 million then, right?
I was surprised to hear Michael reply.
Michael, Michael, you talking about $1 million in sales? It's impossible.
I was panicking.
Lucas, we can do it. If we work together, we can make it.
He said it emphatically. When Henry saw this discussion, he burst up laughing and stated, whatever, do your best. I'm looking forward to it, and left the room with a rollicking laugh.
Are you two all right?
If there is anything we can do to help, we will.
We were too scared of Henry to say anything, but we are on your side.
They almost made me cry with their words of support.
It was not too soon to cry, Lucas. On this day next year, we will cry with joy. His enthusiastic handshake turned me on, and from the next day onward, Michael and I focused our efforts on finding new clients.
I made appointments with all the companies I had my sights set on. But while I was frustrated because I couldn't get contracts right away, Michael was closing contracts and boosting his sales statistics one by one. He stated that this was his first time in sales, so I was curious as to how he was able to close so many contracts. I was curious, so I accompanied Michael on several of his roundings. He quickly identified the issues and areas for improvement that his clients were experiencing. That success, or even when they were hesitant to embrace his suggestions, he outlined the benefits in a clear and precise manner. He also quickly got into the tough person's bosom and got him to open up immediately, and by the end of the meeting, the atmosphere had transformed favorably. I couldn't help but ask,
You said this was your first time in sales, right? How do you manage to win clients' hearts and minds so easily?
I asked him.
Well, I just think about them and pay close attention to them, just like you do.
Actually, I was surprised by the smile on his face. I was certainly thinking about the client when I made my proposal, but when the client turned down my offer, I didn't pursue it any further. I did it occasionally, but I had a bad habit of panicking, and I wanted the customer to be more open to my idea. As to a statement, I realized I wasn't fully paying attention to the client's voice or the issues they were having, but Michael said, "Don't worry, Lucas, you'll be fine." And he patted me on the back. Michael gave me a push, and I began putting his concept into action right away. I tried to think objectively from the client's perspective and rethought my proposal. Then I was receiving contracts and my business performance was constantly improving, as if I had transformed into a different person. Of course, Michael was no exception, and 6 months later, he and I were vying for the top spot. Then, 1 year after that promise, we each made $1 million in sales. I received a compliment from Mr. Johnson himself. However, Henry did not accomplish anything and did not modify his attitude. So Mr. Johnson told him, "I've heard rumors, but it turns out you were the most inept personnel after all. You were also..." potential entrusted with Michael's training, but you ultimately left it to Lucas. May I ask what you were doing?
I'd heard rumors, but it turns out you were the most inept personnel after all. You were also entrusted with Michael's training, but you ultimately left it to Lucas. May I ask what you were doing? Lucas, Michael, if you do not create $1 million bowling in sales by this date next year, you guys will be fired. Under what kind of authority did you say such a thing? You're the one who's fired.
And Henry was really fired. Then Michael told me the true story. Michael had previously worked in sales for 30 years before retiring at the age of 50. After retirement, he worked as a self-employed consultant. However, Mr. Johnson, an acquaintance of his, urged him to rebuild the branch. I begged him to join the company as a salesman, even on a 1-year contract, and Michael, who is a good person, agreed. Abyss keep an eye on Henry's behavior, which had been a source of concern at the headquarters.
I too about the company going bankrupt, my mid-career employment, and being new to sales. It was bothering me. I am truly sorry.
He bowed his head. When I saw him like that, I said, "Please don't worry about it. Thanks to you, I was able to improve my performance. I've discovered a new sense of fulfillment in sales and realized how important it is. I am truly grateful." I bowed to Michael. Michael quit the company after a year and is now working as a consultant at the headquarters and branch offices. He still comes to the head office and branch offices frequently, and each time he visits, he brings us delicious snacks. He is trusted and relied upon by everyone. Since then, I've maintained my top sales performance and have even been offered a transfer to the corporate headquarters. But I opted to stay at this branch because I have friends who have helped me in the past. I am now in charge of training new employees. I make every effort to keep my original goal in mind and to make the new staff love their work. Michael and I have become drinking pals, despite the fact that we are not of the same age. But Michael is a savior and a friend who saved my life. I will treasure this relationship and work hard at my career in the future.